Welcome back to Good Knit Kisses. I am your host Kristen, and my friends with allfreeknitting.com and I would like to present you with the Granny Round. This is a Loom Knit Granny Round. This is something that I have made up, and I'll have the pattern posted on my site. I'm using 3 strands of a worsted weight. I have knit this up rather than making a crocheted granny square. I think this would be really fun as a blanket all stitched together and kind of having the holes where the corners would meet, and so it sort of make a sort of a 4-pointed dime in there. Or you could make this in a cotton and make a pot holder. Today I'm going to use a 36 peg round loom, my knitting tool, and a super bulky number 6, so I can use 1 strand. So the super bulky number 6 yarn here, and you can use 3 strands. This is a red heart of a worsted weight. Before we get started, I'd like to show you that you can produce several of these quickly, and in order to do so, we're going to be decreasing later. So what I want to do is mark every 6th one of my pegs. I'm going to end up dividing this whole loom. It's 36 pegs. I'm going to divide it into 6 sections of 6. So 6 times 6 is 36. So on the first of each 6, I'm going to put some kind of a peg marker. Right now I'm just using some little colored child rubber bands for hair because that's what I had handy. And you may not be able to see them as well on my film, but that's what I'm using. I'm just saying if you want to put like an earring or a piece of tape down here or something, but that will help you do it very quickly. So if you'll mark, so we're going to start. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then put another one on the next one, and go along, and we'll meet back up. We're going to make a slip knot. Go ahead and leave a generous tail on here, and the reason why is if you want to end up stitching this together later with some more, you can use that to put them together. We'll put this slip knot on here, put the tail on the inside, and we're going to do an E-wrap cast on. Wind your way all the way around in an E-wrap fashion, and then wind it around again and come back. We've come back to our starting peg, and now we're going to knit off. If you've done the 3 strands, make sure and obviously lift all 3 of the bottom strands over the top 3 strands. With this bulky 6, it almost looks like 3 strands on top of it, so you want to make sure you're getting all of those, and not also not grabbing this top. We finished our cast on row. Normally I'd say push them down, but we're actually going to flip this over and purl. Put your working strand in front. Pull down, go down and pull up. Put the new loop on. So purl by picking up the bottom working strand, pulling it through, take it off, the loop off of the peg, and pull the new. Continue purling all the way around one row. Now that you've got your purl row on, go ahead and push everything down, and we're going to E-wrap 3 more rows. After you've E-wrapped this row and knit over, then complete 2 more rows after that. And we'll meet back up. As I'm finishing up my 3rd row here, which actually should be your 5th row total, I am reminding myself I should have said on the 3rd row of your E-wrap be sure and make it loose because we're going to start decreasing. And when we decrease, you're going to need a little bit more slack in your yarn. So if you have not done that yet, go ahead, because I've skipped along in the tutorial, so if you're watching along, you probably haven't done that row yet. But go ahead and when you start wrapping your third row, make sure that it's fairly loose. I've done mine a little tight here, so you may see me struggle a little bit. Okay, so I've got my beginning row, I had my purl, and then 3 rows of E-wrap, and now we're going to start decreasing. And it doesn't look like a circle yet, but I promise it's actually going to shrink up. So you can see how this one shrunk up. We're going to go from our number 1, all the ones that have these rubber bands, we're going to go to the left and move the second peg over to the first peg. So go ahead and move that over. And again, you can see this marking number 1 and move it over. Just you can untwist it. It doesn't have to be twisted. You can go ahead and knit them over while you're doing it or come back and do it. I usually come back so I know that I did all of them. Okay, go ahead and knit over. And now that we have knit those over, what we're going to do is wrap all the remaining pegs that have yarn on them. Like this. Skip. Finish wrapping those pegs and knit over and join me back up. I'm going to start our second row. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the 4th peg move that over to the 3rd. You can knit over at this time if it's easier. Move on to your next set. Go from 4 to 3. Go all the way around the loom. After you've completed going from 4 to 3, go ahead and wrap the remaining pegs, skipping the ones that don't have yarn, and knit over. After knitting over and pushing down all your rows, we're going to go from 6 to 5, so go all the way down. This is going to be the one before all these markers. Moving 6 to the 5 peg, knit off, move down to the next one. Yeah, just completed my last 6 to 5, and I'm going to wrap the remaining pegs and knit off as we've done on the last 3 decreased rows. I have completed my last row. What I want to do now is take my working strand, leave it attached. I'm going to wrap around my loom 2 times. Make sure I have plenty of yarn. take my scissors and cut. Let that hang loose. Now I'm going to take my working strand and act like I'm going to do a purl. So I'm just going to take my loom knitting tool, pull this working yarn up and all the way out. Move on to the next peg and do the same thing. So instead of using a tapestry needle, we're just going to use one tool continue working your way around the loom and meet back up at the end. I've come to the end here. I finished and I haven't quite connected this last peg. This was the starting one that it came out of. Go ahead and put it through, and then we're going to take this off of the loom. Go ahead and pull all of your pegs, pull all the yarn off the pegs. Just want to show you what this looks like. It's kind of funny. It looks like a little bit of a collar, which you could do, but if you see it, it looks like you've kind of decreased these rows. You made these little tree sort of looking things, and then your rows in here have this wide area. So what we're going to do is pull on this strand, and then it's going to slowly form our circle. Just real gentle. I like to kind of lay it down flat for a moment and kind of mess with it and pull on that. If you see, you have this nice circle. You could do any stitches here in these 3 stitches, and then you have your decreased stitches here to make it flat. This would be nice in a seed stitch, or just do a garter continue this knit purl right here, but this is just how I happen to make it. But the decrease is what makes this so flat, and this is for this particular loom. So just cut this off, weave this in, make sure and make it snug, and you have got yourself a granny round. And like I said, you could stitch these together and make a nice funky blanket. You could use it as a base for a bag, or really anything, or like I said, do a pot holder. So thank you so much for tuning in to Good Knit Kisses. Again, I am Kristen, and thank you again for my friends at allfreeknitting.com. And you guys have a great week. Happy looming!